Reclaimed is the podcast about the woman's journey of reclaiming her power through somatic work, breath work, plant medicine, and conversations. I am Kyla Gagnon, and this is Reclaimed. All right, I'm introducing to you for the first time KylaGagnon.com, which means the Sacred Essentials is no longer. I have just been in this phase of like closing things down, reinventing, changing, evolving, growing, and it feels really, really good. So back in July, I closed the doors to the Essentials, which is the Breathwork and Somatics membership. And I said that they would open again at some point. I wasn't quite sure when. This feels like a really good time because not only has my website, my brand, my business name changed to KylaGagnon.com, but the Breathwork membership is now Breathe with Kyla, which feels so good, feels so clean, feels so obvious and direct and perfect. And so I am in celebration of the whole rebrand. We're opening the doors to Breathe with Kyla just for this week. So we are currently September 16th, 2024. And that means the doors to Breathe with Kyla are going to be open until September 23rd, end of day. So if you're listening to this in between those dates, you can join us inside of Breathe With Me. This is a somatics and breathwork membership. The information and all the details, if you want to learn more, are of course in the show notes. And if you're listening to this after September 23rd, there's going to be a wait list. You can join us when the doors open again at some point, maybe later this year or perhaps earlier next year. So please celebrate with me, KylaGagnon.com and Breathe with Kyla. No longer needing to pay any attention to the Sacred Essentials and the Essentials and getting confused on what that might mean. KylaGagnon.com and Breathe with Kyla. Yay. Hello, sweet friends. Welcome back to the conversation. I am so excited for today's guest. I've been following this epic woman on the Instagram lands for a few years now. I've been in and out of some of her offerings, containers, masterclasses, and I'm so thrilled to bring you Cassie Howard. Cassie is an online business mentor for women. She is most known for her savvy sales skills and her ability to make business simple, fun, and sustainable. Her approach to business and money is one that has attracted the attention of women all around the world in their own attempt to build the mind-blowing business of their dreams. What Cassie teaches in her programs, masterclasses, and individual trainings is something that she embodies in her own company every single day, a company that has now generated over 8 figures cash in just a few short years. She enjoys breaking the rules and doing what others tell her she can't. Her unique way of doing business has changed the game in the coaching and mentoring space. Many of her clients have surpassed milestones and created shocking success at rapid speed. Cassie is a huge proponent of success on your terms, and she believes that you really can be, do, and have anything you want, and you can experience it in your very own way. She teaches work ethic, staying power, big, bold moves, and long game focus, alongside her many teachings on money, sales, and social media. She's someone that wants every single woman to win and is passionate in supporting her clients on their journey to limitless success. Please welcome to the conversation, Cassie Howard. Hello, Cassie. Welcome to the conversation.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So glad you're here. Yeah, this is fun. This is fun. I was just telling you before we hit record, I feel like I've actually been hanging out with you for the last few days because I've been catching up with the
I think
comeback.
that's so perfect, though. And then we just lead into like the personalized conversation, even better.
Totally. Before we do that, I want to ask you one question, which is, what are you currently reclaiming?
I think the question is more, what am I not reclaiming? I feel like I'm always reclaiming in all areas that are important to me. And so I'm always reclaiming my power, which is a big thing that you just talked about before we hit record. I'm always reclaiming my mission, like what I'm here to do, the vision that I have for myself, for my company, for my clients. And I think the thing that's really fresh on my mind right now that I'm really prioritizing more than anything else is I'm reclaiming my voice, because I feel like there was a little bit of time where I kind of muted myself just to stay out of drama.
Okay.
I know it sounds odd, but I really did. I toned myself down, if you can believe it. And now I'm just like, I'm ready to cause a little bit of chaos, I think. So I'm coming back.
Oh, I'm here for that. Oh, yes. I got like shivers up my spine. My my personal journey with reclaiming my power started with my voice and like continues. I think that's like a lifelong thing here.
For
Oh,
sure.
I'm so excited to hear what you have to say. I mean, yeah, get
There's
louder.
been a lot of things that I've been like, don't say anything, just ignore it, don't do it. I'm gonna do it now.
Oh,
I'm gonna do it.
yes. Okay, perfect. I'm instantly making your Instagram account like highlighted so it shows up.
It's coming.
Cassie Howard has made a post. What does it say?
Oh my gosh.
Um, okay, I definitely want to get into the comeback because I've been loving it. And um, yeah, or I want to get into that. And actually, some of the questions that I want to talk to you about are in the comeback, which is probably what even spurred me to ask them. But the part that I kind of get giggles out of and I really appreciate about you is and our mums said the same thing when we were young was like, oh, you better marry rich, right? You better
Yeah.
marry a rich man. My mom was like,
Mhm.
oh, you've got really expensive taste. You better hope you marry someone with a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious if you want to share just a little bit about your entrepreneurial, that word always gets me, your entrepreneurial journey towards your rich man.
Oh boy.
I know those
I
are
mean,
two separate things, but
I really, I don't even know if I knew that I was going to be an entrepreneur. I just knew that I was going to be a millionaire. That's the only thing I knew. Whatever that meant, I was
yeah.
like, I'm going to be a millionaire, thinking that that was like
Hmm.
so much money. And at the time, maybe it was. But, and so I was like, I need to make
Probably.
money. So what do I do? And so the only thing I could
Hmm.
do as a kid was have yard sales. So I started to just have yard
Yes.
sales. Like all the kids in during the summer would be out playing with their friends, going to the beach, doing all those things. I was doing yard sales. And I did this almost
What
every
would you
day.
sell?
I sold like my toys, I sold my clothes. I would steal stuff from the kitchen and like little knickknacks that my mom didn't know about. And I'd be like, she won't notice this. Turns out she did. But I would sell those things as well, like anything I could find that I would think nobody's going to
Yeah.
miss this if it's gone. And I made okay money. Eventually, my neighbors, I think, just pitied me and they're like, here's $1. I don't need anything. Like, here you go. Here's your dollar for the day. It was cute.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it started for me was yard sales. That was like my first intro into selling. But I
Hmm.
didn't get into actual business until I was 17. And that's when I went into the adult industry. And yes, I know you're supposed to be 18 before you go in the adult industry, but I wasn't. I pretended and
Potato,
it was
potato.
fine. I did what I had to do. And that was
Yeah.
my first, like, even into the online world as well. And being
Okay.
able to get paid just to play on the internet, like that was pretty cool. And so I
Mhm.
did that for a couple of years. I eventually became I went from being the model to being the photographer and the videographer behind the scenes. And I
Oh.
liked that so much more, surprisingly.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
did that for a little bit, then realized that I didn't like working with models because a lot of them were super flaky and didn't want to deal with that.
Hmm.
So then eventually stopped with the adult industry because it just became it was too much work. Like physically I needed to be tanning all the time and new outfits all the time and hair and makeup all the time.
Right.
It was too much. I was like, no, I
Hmm.
don't want to do this. And also I was really like deep in debt because I was putting so much money into my appearance and like buying all these new clothes and everything I thought I needed for that I was in debt and I needed to
Hmm.
pay my debt. So I ended up selling my content and making exactly what I needed to pay off all my debts so I could start fresh. When I did that, I
Sweet.
went into the couponing industry, frugal living industry, mostly out of necessity. I needed to learn to be better with money. And so I did that. Eventually that became a business because people were asking me, how are you getting all these groceries for so cheap? How are you doing this and getting so many freebies? And so that became a business. I did that for about 7 years. And then eventually that started to feel boring. You'll notice a pattern here. That started to feel boring and like way too much work. So somebody at the time was like, can you teach me about how to make money? Because all of my content was about saving money. So she said, can you help me
Mhm.
to make money? Like, how do you make money from your blog? And so I started to do content on my blog that was more geared towards making money and I was doing like affiliate marketing and ads and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
that's what I was
Mhm.
teaching. And then somebody, I don't know who it was, but at some point somebody was like, you should be a business coach. And I was like, what the heck is that? And so I looked up the coaching industry, went down this black hole and never looked back. And then went into the
Yes.
coaching world and that was it. And I was like, I found it. Like, this is it. And this is the longest career I've ever had. It's like
And how
I've
long
been
has it been?
9 years now. And
Okay.
it feels like I've been doing this for like my whole life, and it also feels like I've been doing it for 5 minutes at the same time. Like, and I
Right.
don't have any desire to quit. Whereas with my previous businesses, I got to a point where I was like, I don't think I want to do this anymore before I
Yeah.
actually quit. And I've never had that feeling with the coaching.
Amazing. Well, I
It's
feel
really crazy.
like as we humans evolve and change and learn, the way, even if it's this, even if we're teaching or sharing, information on the same topic, the way we can share it evolves, and that maybe is a part of what keeps things kind of exciting.
100%. Yeah, because if I
Yeah.
look back, like when I was in the adult industry, I was technically doing what I'm doing now, except now I'm doing it with words. Before I was doing it with visuals. Like
Right.
it's still me getting paid to be me. Like it's still the same. It's just how I'm doing it is a little different.
Right. You said something that was really interesting in the comeback where your time in the adult industry, if I heard you correctly, and if I'm repeating it correctly, actually taught you self love. Like it showed you how to love yourself. Can you talk about that? Because mm, I'll say, like, my ignorance around it is like, wouldn't that industry tear you down? Or isn't it possible that that industry could really make it almost the opposite experience? So I love that this was your experience. Can you just share a bit about that?
Yeah, it I feel like it depends how you get into it and who you surround yourself in that industry that's going to determine
Hmm.
how it affects you. For me, it boosted my self-esteem. Like I had people telling me every day how attractive I was and how much they wished I was their girlfriend, and like that does a lot for your ego. Like it made me feel
Right.
really good. I
Hmm.
find that a lot of the times the people who have a bad experience are the ones where it's heavily sexual. For me, it was like
Yeah.
mostly pictures and stuff like that. There wasn't really much sex that was happening.
Okay.
But if that's the case, then it can affect your sex life.
Hmm.
And then there's like this feeling of, well, sex only looks like this. And if it's not like
Yeah.
this, then, my partner clearly doesn't like me. And the reality is
Yeah.
like porn is not real life. Like it's acting. It's
Totally.
not real.
Yeah.
And so people kind of get those things messed up. So can it affect the way that you feel about yourself? 100%. In a negative way? 100% it can. I'm just
Hmm.
one of the lucky ones where it didn't. It did the
Yeah.
opposite for me.
Beautiful.
But I
Did
don't
you
think
have
that I
self?
would have stayed if it did. I really don't think I would have stayed
Yeah.
in the industry if I was like, I feel like shit all the time.
Of
I
course.
wouldn't stay in that.
Hmm. Did you have lower self esteem before going in?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
You did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brave move. Good for you. I'm so
Yeah.
glad that was your experience. Okay. You maybe didn't plan to become an entrepreneur, but very, very clearly you were from the very beginning.
Yeah.
What, what would you say are some really common like misconceptions or myths about entrepreneurship, or just things that people are totally missing the mark to?
Where do I start? I mean, there's so many things that people think it is that it's not. I think
Hmm.
the two that I hear a lot that are probably the most frustrating for me, one is that you have to work your ass off 24/7 forever. Like
Right.
that becomes your life. And while yes, you that is the case sometimes, like you have to work really hard, especially in the beginning.
Hmm.
If you do it right and you set yourself up where you have a business that's actually sustainable, you don't
Hmm.
have to work 24/7. Like that's not
Hmm.
necessary. So
Hmm.
that's one. And then the other one that ruffles my feathers is when people think that, "Oh, I'm going to become an entrepreneur. And when I become an entrepreneur, I'm going to be rich." When the
Right.
fact is that most people do not become rich. Most
Hmm.
entrepreneurs do not become rich because
Hmm.
there's so much that they have to navigate throughout the entrepreneurial journey that a lot of people just can't handle it. Like it's a lot. It's heavy, it's hard, it's frustrating, it's overwhelming, and it's too much for a lot of people. So, yes, you
Hmm.
can make a lot of money, you can become super rich as an entrepreneur, but most people won't. And
Right.
you have to be prepared for that. Like it might not be me.
Hmm.
I'm open to it being me, but it might not be me. So that's why you really have to enjoy it. Because if you enjoy it, then
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if you're not super rich, you'll still do really well and you'll love your life.
Right. Exactly. And I feel too, and this kind of, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about this was a question I had for you, but if someone, if someone's like, I'm going to become an entrepreneur and I'm going to become rich, my story is that, well, like prior to that, they maybe haven't been wealthy, they haven't been quote unquote rich, and they're going into entrepreneurship to do so. And so when it comes to their ability or their capacity to even hold that kind of money, right? Their nervous system is like, what the fuck is
Exactly.
this? So I don't think you grew up wealthy. I think that's why you were like, I'm going to be the rich man. And
Yeah.
so, like, what was, do you have any nervous system? Did you have any nervous system regulation practices? Like, how did you tell your body and your ability to hold money that, like, this is safe and we can do this?
I mean, I started with messing it all up, which I know
Right.
that sucks and nobody wants to do that, but it actually helped me a lot was to
Mm-hmm.
I made a lot of money really quickly in the coaching industry anyway. I made
Mm-hmm.
money really quickly and then I lost it all. And in hindsight now I know that's the best thing that could have happened to me because it forced me to actually pay attention to money, learn about money, learn how to manage money, like all the
Mm-hmm.
practicalities that
Mm-hmm.
we're not taught, in school, like stuff that's really important that we don't understand. I didn't get it. So I had all this
Yeah.
money coming in and I was like, "Ooh, I'm going to buy this and do this and do this and do this." And then the tax man said, "Where's my money?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot." And I had no
Right.
money. So
Mm-hmm.
it was difficult, but I needed to go through that. And
Mm-hmm.
now I'm at the point where I make way more money than I did back then and it feels so much easier now. There's still times where it's like, holy shit, this is a lot, coming in, going out. But
Mm-hmm.
I also have the evidence now where it's like, I know what I'm doing. But at the same
Yeah.
time, I'm still learning. And I know that I
Mm-hmm.
might fuck it up at some point again. And that's okay. I'm
Mm-hmm.
willing to fall on my face to learn a lesson and then come back stronger. You're like, that's
Mm-hmm.
okay. I'm okay with that. But I'm going to do whatever I can to hopefully avoid those things. So for me, that's mentorship and having mentorship with somebody who makes way more money than me, somebody
Mm-hmm.
who has been doing it not longer than me, but has been more successful longer than I have
Mm-hmm.
financially so that they can make sure that I don't fall into the same traps that I might if I was doing it on my own.
Yeah.
And then
I
having
just think,
conversations is the other thing too. I would add to that is just talking about money. So many people are afraid to
yes.
talk about money. It's like taboo. But I talk about
Mm-hmm.
money every day in some capacity. I'll
Mm-hmm.
talk about tax things, I'll talk about
Mm-hmm.
income generation things, I'll talk about saving, I'll talk about what should I
Yeah.
buy that's going to be like the best bang for my buck, what's going to make me
Mm-hmm.
more money. Like I have conversations like this every single day and that makes it makes money feel less scary and overwhelming when it's just a regular part of your everyday life.
Yeah, I love that so much. That's that's so simple actually. It's like when we have something we're shameful about or embarrassed about, we tend to not talk about it and then it makes it worse and worse and worse. And if money is something that someone is, you know, having a struggle with or doesn't have the greatest relationship with, they're either A, not talking about it, or if they're talking about it, they're talking about how hard it is and how
Exactly.
there's not enough, right? And I know who your mentor is, and I remember her actually saying, "Oh God, she told this really cool story about. Of course, she told a cool story, but it was about if money was a living thing, and who is it going to want to spend time with? Someone who's like,
Exactly.
oh my God, I love you, let's go do this fun thing, or someone who's like, you're just never around enough. Of course, yeah, just talk about it. I love that. Thank you. I feel like that was actually a really like silent nugget. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's good, and it's like
And
you do have to treat it like a person, like, you have to, as
yeah,
cliche as it sounds, like, date your money, like, actually spend time
yeah,
with it. Pay attention to it,
yeah,
because if it was an actual person that you were in a relationship with and you weren't paying attention to it, they'd leave you. So it makes
right.
sense, money's gonna do the same thing.
Right. Totally. Totally. So, what about the times that you were in, and if someone is listening, in like a season of struggle? How do you then normalize or calibrate back to those big numbers?
Just be around people who are doing it. That's what it was for me. And it doesn't even mean you have to pay people because obviously if you're struggling financially, you probably can't. If you can, like get as close as you can, even if it's like
Hmm.
buy $100 masterclass or something, like do
Hmm.
something. But even if
Hmm.
you can't do that, like just be following them on social media. Like just listen, just pay attention, just read their stuff. Like just get as
Yeah.
close to those people as possible because they're going to show you what's possible. But
Yeah.
if you are avoiding those people because they trigger you, which is what tends to
Hmm.
happen for most people,
Hmm.
then you're
Hmm.
spending time with people who are at the same level as you are or
Hmm.
worse. and you're not
Mm-hmm.
able to grow in those environments. You have to put yourself in environments that are going to stretch you, which means they're going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate that. And you, like, I think back, I was just talking to my partner about this the other day, where I remember being in a call with someone, and one of the women, who is now a friend of mine, but one of the women in there, we were being asked, what are we calling in? And she said, I'm calling in $30,000 months. And at that point, that triggered me. I was like, I couldn't possibly have that. How could she have that? I was still working at the 10K, and I was like, oh my God, $30,000. And I felt so like offended by it, scared of it. I was so triggered by it.
Yeah.
And you are one of the people who I would be in your space. I would take all of your free stuff. I was in. You are one of the people that has expanded my mind, where I'm like, 50,000, 100,000, like it's all possible. It's all totally possible, and I'm available for it. So thank you for being one of those people to so many humans.
It's my
Um,
pleasure.
yeah, I know it is.
I love it
And
so much.
I bet. And something I really love about you and your role in the industry is that you bring the edge. Like, I really appreciate that there's this, like, I don't know, there's this like fiery badass edginess to you that maybe I just think that I have a little bit of that myself. So I really like to see it amplified. But so you bring in the energetics, which I think is important. And everyone's talking about energetics these days. You bring that in, but you also bring in the work and the strategy and the action. And I really appreciate that, because that goes missed sometimes. So there's coaches who just aren't talking about the fact that you actually have to do shit in your business
That is
to
so
have a
frustrating
successful
to me.
business.
Yeah.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
So
the
how do you
energetics is
balance?
so important. Like I will be the first
Totally.
one to say it, but energetics alone is not enough at all. Like it will only
No.
get you so far. Same with strategy. Strategy is important, but
Hmm.
strategy alone is not enough. Like it's a combination of all of these things.
Yeah. So how do you practice? Because to me, that's the masculine and the feminine of business and life. And so how do you balance that in your life? Like, how do you, because you are like, you're smashing it, you're doing amazing. And I know that you're going to continue to, like, double, triple, quadruple what you're doing right now, which will come from a lot of action taking. So, how do you balance the feminine and masculine aspects of your business, of your life? How do you do that?
There's two things that I do. So number one is I have a mentor who is very big into energetics. That was strategic
Right.
on my part because anytime I'm too in my head, I'm too strategy, she will bring me back down and be like, let's do this. But the main thing that I
Hmm.
do, and this is going to sound so silly, but this honestly changed my whole life, especially when it comes to energetics, business, life altogether, is I just let myself feel things. And this was
Hmm.
something that I never let myself do. It was, oh, you're sad, too bad, do the work. Oh, you're in a
Hmm.
bad mood, too bad, go post that, offer or whatever. And I would do
Hmm.
things that would have me avoiding my feelings. And as soon as
Right.
I just said, okay, I'm sad, I'm going to go listen to a sad song and I'm going to cry. Like I'm just going to let
Hmm.
myself be sad, get it out of my system so I can actually heal and move on. And
Hmm.
that's all I did. And so now I actually have time scheduled in my day. This sounds so corny,
Yes.
but I have
No.
like little alarms on my phone that will go off usually like twice a day. And it'll just say, go feel something. And I'll just kind of tune into whatever it is. And in that moment, maybe I'm excited, maybe I'm happy,
Hmm.
maybe I'm angry, whatever the feeling is in the moment that it goes off, I
Hmm.
just feel it. And I stay in that feeling until I've processed it and it's gone through. And then I move on and I do the next thing. Like that's it. And the strategy
I love
stuff,
that.
like that's so easy for me to stay in the masculine. I feel like that's just naturally who I am. So I don't have to ever come back to that. I'm
Hmm.
always there. I have to
Hmm.
intentionally put myself in the feminine because that's where I
Hmm.
tend to run and hide. Or at least I used to. I
Hmm.
don't anymore, but I used to run and hide from that.
Yeah. I think that's so common well, in a lot of women, but in particular in entrepreneurial women, or women
Yes.
running big teams.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so on that, I know. So you have a mentor. I was going to kind of go into like support. So you have a mentor, you have a husband, you have children. what has that looked like moving through your growth? Like, has there always, did you have support? Was your family supportive? Did you have like what, because the journey you've been on, I'm sure it's been, fun, and it's also not been easy all the time.
Yeah.
And I know that when your financial situation evolves and changes and grows, that can shift relationships. So what has that looked like for you? Have you had to let people go?
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's some like friendship relationships that I've had to let go. I
Mm-hmm.
had some friends who, as soon as I was making a lot of money, and obviously I'm public about that because of, what I teach people,
Mm-hmm.
I would have people that would come to me and all they wanted was money, or all they wanted was free advice on how to make money. And that's
Right.
pretty much all we would ever talk about. So it felt, I don't know, I just felt used in those relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And so those, I obviously had to let go of. And then there were some which I found harder for me to let go of, but still necessary, were the ones where I realized that those friendships were built off of us both struggling and reminiscing about
Right.
the struggle. So all we would do
Mm-hmm.
together is complain and talk
Mm-hmm.
badly about our lives and all the shit that, we were handed, and
Mm-hmm.
never trying to improve. And I was trying to improve and they weren't. And they weren't
Yeah.
ever trying to evolve from where they were. They just liked to be bitter and negative and complaining all the time. And so those relationships, some were family, not super close family, but still family members. And then some were actual friendships. And I had to let those go as well, which was hard because obviously I loved
Mm-hmm.
them, but it
Mm-hmm.
was not healthy for me to be in those
Yeah.
spaces. But with my husband, Richard, with him, was he supportive in the business? 100% no. He thought it was a scam. He was like, "What do you mean you're paying a stranger on the internet thousands of dollars? Don't do that." He didn't understand it, which, I mean, when I look back now, it makes sense. It
Uh-huh.
was probably really crazy. I would have thought he was crazy too if he did the same. So he
Mm-hmm.
wasn't super supportive, but he was not going to tell me no, because obviously I'm not going to listen anyway. If he said no, I'm going to do what I want to do. I think he knew that. So I think he was more,
Yeah.
okay, let her fuck this up, let her see this was a bad idea and she'll get over it. And
Yeah.
then I didn't, because I didn't fuck it up and everything was great. But even now, to this day, making millions of dollars a year, he still doesn't get it. He still doesn't understand. He's like, who is paying you this money? Why? Where do these people get this money? What do you even talk about? Like, he still doesn't get it. I've stopped trying to explain it because I'm like, unless you come into my programs, come in and hang out and see what we do, until you do that, you will never understand. So I've stopped trying. But is he supportive now? Yes. He doesn't get it, but he's supportive because clearly it's working. So he's like, all right, you seem to know what you're doing. That's fine. As long as you're not selling drugs on the side, that's what he said to me. As long as you're not selling drugs on the side and this is all just a cover up, then keep going. I'm like, not currently, no.
No, not yet.
No. There's always more.
Um, totally. Life is long. Has he ever felt insecure about the money that you make?
No, I asked him that because that was a big thing that people warned me about. They're like, he's gonna feel like he's not a man
Yeah.
anymore if you're making so much more than him. And I asked him, and he's like, no, it's great. When can I retire? Like, he's totally fine with it, which is really good because I was a little nervous about that. But I think
Yeah.
that's just always been my plan anyway. My plan is to always make more because I
Yeah.
don't ever want to feel tied down to somebody because of money. So my plan was to
Yeah.
always have more than my partner, no matter what, so that if
Look at
anything,
you.
they were tied down to me. No, I'm just kidding.
You can never leave.
Yeah, you're
You are mine. Has he retired?
no, he can. He just doesn't want
I
to. He's
know.
like, I think I'd be bored. Just like, he
That's
loves his,
fair.
his job, so he goes every day to his job and he loves it. If he was just home all the
Okay.
time, he's like, what would I do? He's like,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
so
fair.
bored. So, yeah,
That's
which
fair.
is good. It's good. I honestly feel like it's probably better that we're not
Hmm.
together all the time anyway. I think it
Hmm.
would be too much. I like that we have our own things and then we come together.
Yeah. 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 It's a lot. My partner and I we both coach and mentor, and we're home, and our offices are like opposite. Like, if he's on a podcast or if he's coaching a client, I'm like,
Yeah,
vice
exactly.
versa.
Yeah.
And then we like meet in the kitchen. It's like, hey, and then you meet at the end of the day, and it's like, how was your day? And it's like, we already know how the day was because we've seen each
Yeah.
other
We're
10,000 times. Yeah.
eavesdropping on each other.
I try
Yeah.
so hard not to. I'm like, this is none of my business. This is none of my business.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the comeback. I love it. I love it. And in the opening call of the comeback, you spoke about how someone I think probably a few people messaged you, and they're like, "A comeback? Where did you even go?" And
Yeah.
it's funny because that actually never even popped into my mind that you would have to go somewhere to have a comeback.
Hmm.
So share a little bit about the comeback. Where did it come from? What's going
So the
on?
comeback really just came from me being sick for a week and then being like, okay, I'm gonna come back stronger. Like that's all it was. And that's what I shared in that call. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
it's not necessarily like my life fell apart and now I'm reinventing myself and coming back new. It could just be I was sick for a while and I felt like crap and I wasn't able to do the things that I normally like to do. So now I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
come back even stronger. Like, thank you, sickness, you did something for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like it
Mm-hmm.
can be that. It can be a simple little challenge that you overcome in one day. Like that's still a comeback. Not all
Mm-hmm.
comebacks are like these big, like she rose from the ashes kind of thing. Like it's not always that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was thinking too, like you could have just had a week where you're like, I suck at life and I don't know what I'm
Yeah.
doing. And all of a sudden, and you're just like, fuck it, I'm going to come back.
Yeah.
I love it. And so you talk a little bit too in there about victim mentality versus just like getting it done.
Hmm.
Can you share some wisdom on that?
I think the main reason that I brought that up is because that's where most people go. Most people
Mm-hmm.
go into poor me. This happened
Mm-hmm.
because it happened
Mm-hmm.
because I was sick. It happened because
Mm-hmm.
this person, wasn't a good person. This happened because this person forgot to pay me. This happened because this. It's always this happened because of that. And
Mm-hmm.
once you can actually just bring it, excuse me, bring it all back to you, even if you
Mm-hmm.
didn't do anything necessarily, but like, what's my role in this and what am I choosing to do because of this? It
Mm-hmm.
changes your whole life. Like for me, I was sick. Did I create the sickness? No, but I was sick. So, okay, what am I going to do about it? Am I going to blame the airplane that I was on where I probably got sick? No,
Mm-hmm.
because it happened. It's over. It is what it is. What am I going to do now? And so many people are like, this is why I never travel and I'm not doing this again. And I'm going to contact the airline and force them to have a mask mandate again. And this, and this. Like, sure, you could do all that or you could just get on with it and like what am I going
Mm-hmm.
to do now, and that's
Mm-hmm.
that's what I wanted to bring forward is like what am I going to do now is way more important than pointing fingers and be like this person, this thing, that thing. What am I going to do
Mm-hmm.
now?
Mm-hmm. And is that because mm, how would I word that? I see that a lot in just humans, right? We tend to fall into victim mentality, and I am definitely not pretending like I never have done that.
Yeah.
And it feels almost like it feels like an edgy thing to poke at, like to even use that word and to be like, and what are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's really important because
Yes.
it like, yeah, I just joked and said life is long, but like life is short actually. And as far as we know, we get this one go. And at the end of the day, we're just this speck of a thing on this spinning rock in the middle of outer space. Like just do the thing. Just do the thing. And so is this part of you speaking louder? Like is this one of those
I
topics that
think,
makes
yeah,
you
I
want to
think because this is something that I do share, but I feel like I haven't been as like to the point. Like sometimes I want to
mm-hmm,
not sugarcoat it, but I don't want to make anybody upset, especially if somebody's going through
mm-hmm.
something like really heavy, really traumatic. I don't want to be like, well, just get over
Right.
it, move on, okay? Like I
Exactly.
don't, so I kind of am a little careful there. But my main message is, and what now? Like,
Mm-hmm,
do you need to
mm-hmm,
go be sad for 6 months? Maybe that's actually the right
mm-hmm,
thing for you. Go do that, heal, deal with
mm-hmm.
your things, and then what? Like, it still comes back to,
Yeah.
and then what? Or now what? Like, what are you choosing
Mm-hmm,
to do? Do you want to stay in the sadness forever? Or do you want to actually do something else with your life and be happy again
mm-hmm,
because you can do that? Or if things are like even something a bit lighter where like in your business you're having a slow year, like this year isn't as great as it has been in previous years, so what? It's one
mm-hmm,
year of your life. Like, what are you going to choose to do? Stay here and just be mad that this is a crappier year than previous years? What have you learned from the previous years compared to this year? What are you going to do now? How can you change things now? Like, it's just all about forward. momentum, as opposed to constantly looking over your shoulder going, oh, remember when things were good? Remember when I was having a good time in business and a good time in life? Remember when my marriage was better? Remember when this was better?
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do now? What do you want?
Mm-hmm.
Go towards that.
Mm-hmm. Which leads into the reinventing the self, which is also you speak about that in the comeback. And do you think there's because like someone could, someone maybe could be in that cycle of like continuously trying something new and trying something new and trying something new and trying something new and continuously reinventing themselves. I think, what's the balance? Because reinventing yourself is rad and totally available. And what, like, what about, I don't even really know what my question is. There's that, like, yes, it's a good thing and let's do it. And how do we not get stuck in the loop of constantly trying to do something different and be someone different?
The issue is
So,
that people don't give things a long enough time to stick.
thank
That's
you.
the issue. They're like, oh, okay, I
Mm-hmm.
did this for, a month and it didn't work. Okay, I'm going to try something else. A month is not enough time. Give it 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
give it 9 months,
Mm-hmm.
give it a year. And then if it's not working, even then, you don't necessarily need to reinvent the wheel completely. Like, just change one piece. Maybe it's just one piece that needs to be tweaked a little bit and then everything works the way you wanted it to. So many people just move on too quickly. I think that's the issue. They don't give things enough
Mm-hmm.
time to actually stick.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Impatience. Instant gratification, wanting it
Always.
now. It comes back to that, like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur and I'm going to be rich.
I'm gonna be
And
rich
it's
and
like,
I'm
oh,
not rich now. Why not? Okay, I quit. Like, it didn't
yeah,
happen yet.
yeah,
Okay, I quit. That's the problem is,
totally.
and I think it's because we see, especially in the coaching industry, we do see people who are like, all of a sudden they're just appear and you're like, who the heck is this person? All of a sudden they're making $1 million a year. And you're like, where did you come from? I'm going to hire
Mm-hmm.
that person because clearly they came out of
Mm-hmm.
nowhere and made $1 million. So they can teach me how to do that. You hire them, you don't
Mm-hmm.
even make $500,000 and you're like, bad coach, this was a bad idea. I shouldn't have hired them. But really, you have
Mm-hmm.
no idea what they were doing previous to showing up
Mm-hmm.
out of nowhere to
Mm-hmm.
learn how to actually make that happen. Like, there's just so much. I need to make it happen exactly like her because she did it. I need to make it happen
Right.
that quickly. Or that person went from 50K months to 100K months and now they're doing $1 million months. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's one person. That doesn't mean that's going to be the case for you. In fact, it's not the case for most people. Most people, is
Mm-hmm.
if we're talking like big months in business, most people can have a big month, but they can't sustain it. That's the problem. Like, we
Right.
need to be able to sustain the big month because otherwise, I mean, sure, it's fun and you can celebrate you had a big month, but there's no growth there. So what's the point?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So is it fair to say that you're currently in a reinventing yourself phase, just based on almost that what you shared in the beginning about what you're reclaiming, coming in to like share
I
more
don't
of you?
think
Is there
so.
a new version?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think it's a reinventing. I think it's more, I'm just getting louder. I think it's more that. I'm just getting louder. I'm not reinventing it. I'm still me. I'm just saying the things that I'm already saying louder. I'm just being more unapologetic about it.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Can't wait. Where's the best place for people to, I mean, I know the answer to this, but just to make sure I'm not wrong, where's the best place for people to find you and stay up to date with all of your goodies?
I'd probably say Instagram. Cassie Howard Biz
Yeah.
on Instagram. Yeah, like I'm on
Hmm.
Facebook too, but Instagram tends to be where I'm just more. I hang out there more.
I forget I even have Facebook, you know.
That's a problem.
But then I think I th- I mean not actually. I know I have it, but I definitely don't spend time there. And I
Yeah.
think there's people who spend more time there than Instagram, and it's just
Yeah.
that's not me. Yeah.
Yeah. No, some people just like I was gonna say I grew up with Facebook. That's not right. I grew up in the coaching industry with Facebook. Like, I started with Facebook. So
Right.
I very much love Facebook and there's so much
Hmm.
value and I think it's very misunderstood. And a lot of people
Hmm.
just don't know how to use the platform. But Instagram is just way more fun. And I think it's
It
because it's more
is.
visual. Like, there's
Hmm.
the reels, there's the photos, like carousel posts, there's the
Hmm.
videos, like stories, like it's just way more fun over there. But Facebook is
Hmm.
there's so much value on Facebook as well.
I think you're right. It's like people, I'll speak for myself, probably just don't know how to use it properly.
Yeah, because
I
it's
need
so
a
different.
lesson.
It's so
It
different
is.
from Instagram.
Yeah. Um, on the note of, well, anything actually, anything we've just talked about or even not talked about, is there anything else that you want to share? Anything that maybe we didn't go into that feels important?
I think we covered a lot. I think my main thing right now is I'm still in that like comeback energy. Like that's what I'm really
Mm-hmm.
feeling. And I think my biggest message to people right now, based on what I'm feeling,
Mm-hmm.
is don't let a setback hold you back. Like don't
Mm-hmm.
let it keep you down. Like use it for fuel. Use the
Yeah.
setback for fuel, use the challenge for fuel. And maybe the challenge is just, it doesn't have to be a huge deal. It could just be, I woke up today and I'm tired. I'm more tired than normal. That's a challenge. Use that challenge to your advantage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. And it's, it's asking questions. And you spoke to it earlier. Like, what am I learning from this? What's the lesson in this opportunity? Like, there's an opportunity in everything. What is the
Always.
lesson?
Yeah.
What can I take from this?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for that. Okay, Instagram, yes. What if someone's like, okay, I want to work with Cassie, I want to be in her world. Do you have anything? What do you have right now? It's going to be, let me just clarify. It'll be September. It's September. It's September right now.
It's September right now. Okay, we're in the future. I would say, I would honestly say for anyone who's new to my work, I would probably start with Millionaire Musings, which is my membership. It's like $99 a month, like, and you can cancel anytime. So you can come in, you can see what I'm all about. You can get a little, sampler of what I do and how I work. And then if you love it, then there's lots of other options like programs and masterminds and things like that. But I would start there.
Yeah. There's an abundance of opportunities to be in your world once you're in there.
So many.
Okay. So many. So many. All right, Cassie, thank you so much.
It's
I'm
my
going to put
pleasure.
everything, all the goodies will be linked below. So even come September, if there's something new, I'll pop it in there as well.
Fabulous. Amazing.
All right. Thank you, Beauty, so much for listening. If you want to continue this conversation on with either myself or Cassie, go ahead and find us on Instagram. You can find those links in the show notes. I am just going to plop this right here. Starting Wednesday this week, I am going to be coming in every day for a week with little bonus podcast episodes because the doors are opening again. Along with the launch of a completely rebranded business, we are no longer the Sacred Essentials. We are now KylaGagnon.com. The Breathwork membership is no longer the Essentials, but it is Breathe with Kyla. And the doors are officially opening for 1 week only, starting next week. So as of Wednesday this week, you can find me in short little solo episodes from the 11th all the way up until the 16th. And then doors are open and we have 1 week of open doors. You can join us inside of the membership all next week. Sending so much love. Talk soon.